Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Dave TV for the 19th of January 2013. It is a Saturday morning, and I'm just relaxing with my Saturday morning post here. The wonderful style section, and just reading my Paul Farhi article. Yes, Paul. Well, interesting. I'm looking through the paper. Okay, this is page 2 and 3 of this massive style section. Not a lot to read in it as usual. And then I'm literally, look at this. Okay, this is 2 and 3. And then I'm flipping the pages, and that's what I get. 2 blank pages. I'm telling you. Okay. And then you flip that, and there's more pages. The movie listing. But 2 blank pages. Now, luckily, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm missing all this news that's crammed into the Saturday style section. But I realized it isn't really, I'm not missing anything. It's just there's page 3, there's page 4, and there's 2 blank pages in between page 3 and 4. So, I don't know. I thought maybe that's where the FishbowlDC libel suit article would be. But I don't see it. So, how you doing, everybody? You get me choked up. No crumbs in my beard this morning. Yeah, right. That was the big news yesterday. You know, us little weenies in the Washington journalism community is that FishbowlDC is at the wrong end of a $2 million libel suit. So what people want to say? People ask, Dave, what's your take on that? Well, according to Legal Times, which broke the news yesterday, Wendy Gordon, a local publicist, claims that FishbowlDC launched an unprovoked online smear campaign against her and published false information that hurt her reputation and her business. Her lawsuit names FishbowlDC and Mediabistro's parent company, Web Media Brands, FishbowlDC editor Betsy, Rothstein, and editor and contributor Peter Ogburn as defendants. Now, you know, they do this thing over at FishbowlDC called Wendy Wednesday, where they would pluck pictures off her Facebook page and then write funny little kind of almost obscene type little commentaries on them, you know? And I guess they're going to claim it's, you know, they're going to claim probably FishbowlDC's lawyers. You know, I'm sure Mediabistro has a team of lawyers up there in New York. They're going to claim that that Wendy Gordon was a public figure and that this is just humor. You know, it's like what Jay Leno does or David Letterman does. You know, they just, you know, pick a public figure, like the president or John Boehner or somebody like that, and then make jokes about them. And, you know, I guess, you know, is the lawsuit going to work? I mean, is Wendy going to get $2 million in damages? I don't know. First off, we have 2 questions. One is the public figure question. You know, if you're a public figure, meaning you're anybody who's dealing with the public, and that includes radio DJs and people like me who do blogs and stuff like that, you have a really higher bar to prove any kind of slander or libel, okay? Because you're putting yourself already out there in the public. So, you know, and when you do that, you have to expect you're going to get some blowback. You're going to get some criticism. You're putting yourself up there. You know, it's different than just somebody who's a private citizen, who's a housewife, who's a banker, who stays away from the media, who's not in the media. You're not in the media business. You know, it's like back in the days of Don and Mike. You know, it would have been really hard for Don or Mike to sue anybody for saying nasty things about him, or any people in the radio today, Kane or Elliott or Russ Parr, anybody, because they're already out there. They're public figures, okay? But regardless of that, there is also a line that you cannot say certain things about somebody that are provable, definitive lies, okay? You know, if you're saying somebody's doing some illegal act or doing something, you know, or insinuating like that, even if you're a public figure, there's a line you shouldn't cross. So that's going to be the questions here in this Fishbowl DC thing. If it ever gets to the courts, what could very well happen before then, and that's like an April court date for this preliminary hearing or whatever, is very easily, Mediabistro or Web Media Brands could come to Wendy Gordon and say, look, Wendy, we're sorry. We'll, make a deal with you to withdraw your suit. That is, I think, probably the most likely possibility. They'll just say, look, a certain amount of money, we'll run up a nice apology on and have Betsy run that and whatever. That's probably what's going to happen with this case. That's my guess. If it goes to trial, if it goes to a court thing, again, the judges will have to look and see if it's meritorious. It might get thrown out. It might not. Who knows? So the question is Wendy Gordon a public figure? As a publicist, you could argue that she is. And even if she is a public figure, did these jokes that reference sexual things and stuff like that Betsy did and Betsy and Peter did, do they cross that line of wherever that is, that did significant damage to Miss Gordon's reputation? That's going to be the question. In any case, you have this double-edged sword, okay? It's a double-edged sword in the sense that it's like what Dan Snyder did when he sued the City paper a couple years ago over that story about his business dealings. Even if the story's wrong, even if the story does contain what you consider to be libelous information, the fact that you bring the lawsuit creates a huge amount of publicity that you wouldn't have normally had. So all of a sudden, those stuff that was said about you that almost nobody read is now all of a sudden everybody's reading it because the lawsuit. And that's what happened with Dan Snyder. This article that Washington City paper did, it didn't get a lot of play. It was on their cover for a week, and a couple days later, most people had probably already forgotten it. But then he brought that lawsuit a couple months later, and boom, that story just got all over the country, and everybody read it. And then eventually Snyder dropped his lawsuit, but not after a huge amount of publicity of that article, and people that would have never read it. So you got to say, that's the negative thing about doing these lawsuits. And that's with Wendy Gordon, what her problem is going to be now is that a lot of people that never read Fishbowl DC, and I doubt there's a hell of a lot of people that read it, are now seeing it in various other forms. Again, in the media, all those complaints and nasty stuff they said about her. So there. The other thing I wanted to comment on is what I'm kind of puzzled by Web Media Brands and Mediabistro in this case. Why they give Betsy such freedom to do her kind of personal vendetta thing. Betsy, I think she's a good writer, but she does this thing where they gin up these kind of feuds over there at Fishbowl DC, and then they just relentlessly go after people over and over and over and over again. And they've done that with me, and I just say, okay, people will email me, did you see what Betsy wrote about you again today? Yeah, I steal stories and I look like some kind of evil criminal and, blah, blah, blah. You just got to say, F it, But they do give Betsy a free hand over there, and she does really go after some people relentlessly, and to the point where it looks immature and unprofessional. There's a certain level where it's okay, go after somebody, it's funny. I mean, I make jokes about WMAL people and stuff like that, but there's a certain level where you get to the point where you get so negative and evil and mean that it looks really unprofessional and immature. And I think Fishbowl DC has been there many times. Mediabistro runs a whole pile of media blogs. Okay, and the most successful one is TV Newser. And TV Newser seems to get a good amount of traffic, but a lot of those other media blogs, like the Fishbowl LA and the Fishbowl New York and some of the other stuff, they really look like lonely little places. Even Fishbowl DC, you go there and there's very few comments. There's very little interaction on the actual website page. Betsy, I think, just spends all her time twittering things, and they do have a number of Twitter followers and stuff like that, but it seems to me like it's just a very small little cadre of, they cover just Capitol Hill journalism, journalists, and there's a huge amount of, the Washington area and the Baltimore area, huge journalist community in this market, and they ignore a lot of it just to cover on a few of these couple dozen Capitol Hill star reporters, stuff like that, over there at Politico and Daily Caller. It seems like pretty much all they cover is the Politico and Daily Caller. And I think what Mediabistro is trying to do is generate some more word of mouth about FishbowlDC, and so they let Betsy kind of go off the rocker on a lot of things just to generate. They're just literally desperate for some kind of gravitas, for some kind of publicity for FishbowlDC that I think in this case, they're to their detriment. Allowing Betsy to kind of spin her wild, crazy stuff over there at FishbowlDC and embarrass. I think she's embarrassing Mediabistro. I really do. When you look at what Mediabistro does on their other blogs, they're all pretty good. I mean, they look fairly, they may not be terribly interesting, but they look reputable and journalistic and all that. And then you look at FishbowlDC and you go, oh my God, what kind of nuttiness is on here? So what do you do? If I was Mediabistro, I would, what I would do? I'd start over at FishbowlDC. I would just start over. I would just clear the decks. Goodbye, Betsy. Goodbye, Peter. And maybe make that Eddie guy the head of it. He seems to be a little more sane. I would clear the decks and just start over and say, look, this is just crazy. It's the nuttiness over there at FishbowlDC, these petty attacks on people that go on and on and on, like what they do with Gene Weingard, whatever his name is, some Washington Post writer. I mean, they just, they don't like his writing, so they slam him, they slam him, they slam him, they slam him. It's like every 2 days there's another slam of this poor guy. You don't like him? Fine. Write something up, move on. But to just keep doing it over, it's like there's some sort of vendetta there, and they do that with everybody. If you're on Betsy's bad side, she'll just clobber you again and again and again and get it meaner and meaner and uglier and uglier and over, and so, to the point where you say something's wrong with this chick. Wow. So anyhow, that's what I would do. I think Mediabistro needs to get rid of Betsy, get rid of Peter. They need to go to Wendy and say, hey, we're sorry, cut a deal with you, and move on and relaunch FishbowlDC as something a little more reputable and a little more mature than what it's been the last couple of years. Oh, there! That's what I say. Damn it, there was something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, yeah. I'll do this really quick here if I can find it. Where did I do it? Somebody sent me a letter, an email, a letter, yeah. Dave TV is fantastic. I am totally blind, so I can't possibly imagine how Dave's verbal maniac style translates visually. I am thoroughly amused, and I manage to laugh hard at least once per video because of the antics. I love the in-depth coverage. Perhaps there should be a Dave TV drinking game. Pick any of Dave TV videos and take a drink when Dave says or anyhow. You will enjoy your evening if you don't black out first. Laugh out loud, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Anyhow. Thanks for watching Dave TV for this Saturday, the 19th. Live long and prosper.